gonna kill myself.
Passion for patchwork.
I can't believe you actually own this.
I made it.
Yeah, that's worse.
It was scrap fabric, okay?
I don't believe you.
Did you just put a warhead in your mouth that you had? Yeah. The Zen music.
It's fine now. Ooh. Okay. So, today, we will be... Which one did we decide on? The trans Jotaro one?
I think so.
I think it was No Use Crying Over... Oh. No, that one's a different one.
Don't give the title, then people will actually go and find them.
This one is called Farewell, My Friends.
Fine.
By Hajime.
I
don't know, I'm not a weeaboo.
Are you sure?
Okay. I'm gonna turn this this 8-hour deep sleep music, peaceful music, relaxing meditation music, sleep meditation. Gonna turn that down. Okay. Allow me to just... Oh, this is gonna be so bad. I just read the last line. It's just good night.
Jotaro bites his fingernails. It wasn't a habit he had had before. When he was younger, he didn't have any bad habits, nervous tics, the like, but suddenly here he was, with his nails bitten to the quick, his cuticles bloody and his mom always bugging him about putting band-aids on to keep him from gnawing on them more.
Ew.
Hell, some of his nails were even split in half and periodically trickling blood onto the floor from the constant abuse.
Oh my god!
In a week, he would be leaving Japan for university in Florida. His mom wouldn't stop going on about it, about her missing him, about him being so far away from home, about how much she had loved college too, but really Jotaro couldn't care less. He couldn't care less, which is namely why he was so pissed right now. Packing was something that was necessary for college, and he couldn't really put it off any longer, especially with his mom nagging him for about a week now. But when a cluster of his fingernails were torn off at the base when he tried to open his rusted suitcase, a suitcase he hadn't used or opened since his friends, he got really mad.
Ew.
Blood was pouring from his hand to the floor, and it fucking hurt like fucking hell. 3 of the fingernails on his right hand had been torn off. There was blood on his suitcase, blood on his mom's carpet, and blood all over his hands. Fuck. His nail bed stung deep, and he walked to the bathroom to wash all the blood off. His vagina tightened at the stinging sensation to deal with first. He didn't want to have his mom lecture him and coddle him if she found out about him hurting himself. She would go into that cycle saying that she had warned him about his nails and all that, and he just didn't have the energy to even think about the concept of that conversation, let alone the energy to commence in it. The blood wouldn't stop, though, as he stood over the sink, trying to wash out his wounds when it kept being supplied back tenfold. The blood on the ground was going to dry soon, and his mother would definitely catch him carrying bleach and that moldy old mop to his room. Jotaro thought to summon Star Platinum, since really, why have a stand if it couldn't help you when you were bleeding out into a sink in a room saturated in your own blood? Jotaro liked Star Platinum. Well, Star Platinum was sort of Jotaro himself, but because of that he didn't feel the disconnect he usually felt with others. Star Platinum didn't put him on a pedestal, Star Platinum didn't overanalyze everything he did, and if Star Platinum died, well, that would mean he was dead too. He wouldn't be alone then. Once the stand was sterilized, the room was clean and back to its original appearance within a minute. During that minute, though, Jotaro's blood didn't stop flowing into the sink off of his wrecked nail beds.
I thought he said a rat.
Jotaro used Star Platinum to examine his
Thought he
fingers
said
with
rectal.
superior eyesight. He couldn't observe much, though, since whenever he wiped his fingers, blood would immediately
I read
surface
farther
to
ahead.
obscure
Oh
his view.
no.
Why wasn't it clotting already? His hands were cold. A wet warmth surrounded his fingertips suddenly, and Jotaro saw a soft, purple tongue caressing his fingers. The owner of said mouth looking intently at the subject of its care. Jotaro was surprised, since he hadn't ordered Star Platinum to do anything like that, but he wasn't really disturbed. Its eyes were warm as it stared at him, its tongue entwining with the tips of his fingers and sucking them to cause some relief to the previous pain he felt. Jotaro was intrigued. He didn't understand a lot of things about stands, such as where they came from, what determined who got a stand, why people got the stands they had, etc., but his stand was suddenly moving on its own accord without any provocation. He knew that he could feel the
I
pain
feel like I'm
the
having a
stand felt,
stroke.
but was the opposite true as well? Maybe Star Platinum was trying to soothe its own pain. Jotaro's thoughts were cut short when he felt a sudden firm grasp on his arm as Star Platinum used it as leverage to get a better angle to perform his task. Its eyes crossed over its nose as it looked at his finger. Jotaro's heart's thudding quickened, and crimson
That's
thoughts
not
rushed
sexy.
into his head at the same pace as the beating within his chest. He pulled his legs together,
Sorry.
clasping his knees, his breath hitching a little, and when his eyes flashed back to see what Star Platinum was doing, he found their eyes locked in contact. Desire.
Desire.
Was this desire? Was what he saw in Star Platinum's eyes desire? He had been absent of desire for so long that the sudden flood into his chest and his mind knocked him dizzy, a small key twisting out of his throat.
I'm waiting for it to get like really
He pushed his
grossly
fingers further
specific.
down Star
Oh, it's
Platinum's
getting
throat
there.
as he pulled it back with him to stay with him as he leaned into and slid down the wall. His legs were weak, and in the privacy of his room, just with himself, he didn't have anyone to show just how tall he could stand. As Jotaro slid down to lie on the cold eggshell floor of the bathroom, Star
I
Platinum rose
heard
over him.
dank.
With Jotaro's fingers still shoved down its throat,
Like, just say
it still
tile,
looked
don't say
comfortable.
eggshell.
Its eyes were
Well, it's gotta
fired
be
to Jotaro's
super
as they
specific what
stared
it's
into
for.
each other, and Jotaro slid his fingers as far down its throat as he could. Star Platinum's free hand entangled itself in Jotaro's hair, yanking his head back and baring his neck. And Jotaro gasps and claws Star Platinum's throat as his hand falls out to grasp at the tile of the floor. Star Platinum ducks down and Jotaro's heart jumps high into his throat as he shakes. He wasn't commanding Star Platinum, but it openly was rough with him, its user. The mouth that hits his neck isn't sharp, though, but velvety and hot. He whines and clasps his wet fingers into Star Platinum's shoulders as he tries to lift himself to rut against Star Platinum. Star Platinum runs its thigh against his pussy, not keeping it longer than necessary. Jotaro's breath comes out heavy, since he isn't used to this kind of contact. He doesn't masturbate, and to have another body warming him from above and fulfilling all his desires the second they are created is making him lose his hold on himself more than anything else has since his friends. Jotaro's neck and pussy are wet, and his breath is coming out in puffs as he wraps both his arms around Star Platinum's back in order to rut more easily against its thick thighs. He feels something hard against his stomach and can guess that it's Star Platinum's dick. He himself doesn't have one, which interests him, but given the position he is in, he can't do more than give it a passing thought between
I thought he was
jerky
gonna say
rusts
Pat.
and thrusts. He feels the soaked cloth of his boxers rubbing against his folds, and whines at the absence of penetration. No later than he had the thought that he suddenly felt the cold air of the room on his bare skin and clitoris, his pussy suddenly contracting and relaxing at the feeling. Fingers were suddenly on his clit, circling surprisingly gently but at the same time fast, the tip of a finger pushing gently against his vaginal opening. Jotaro's toes tensed and jerked at the new stimulation, and when Star Platinum deep within him, a loud moan escaped from his mouth. He couldn't care less, because Star Platinum was himself, and all of the fronts he put on, although well constructed, couldn't hide him from himself, no matter how hard he tried to have them work like that. Star Platinum curled its finger in Jotaro, pressing firmly on his insides, swirling his finger around to stretch Jotaro out to make sure not to hurt him.
It's not
Jotaro
anal.
felt his little finger pressing gingerly on the outside, until it slid in easily next to the index finger, and Star Platinum returned to curling its fingers into Jotaro to get to his G-spot. Jotaro was breathing heavily, gasping roughly at Star Platinum's careful but firm treatment of his insides. At each caress and firm touch, he felt a third finger slide into his vagina, and he clasped down on the appendages in pleasure. He wanted more. He wanted to be as stimulated as possible. When he was by himself without his soul showing itself next to him, he couldn't do this. He would focus on how that wasn't him, and a little bile would rise in his throat at the slightest caress of his folds. He was lost in feeling now, though. He couldn't feel his disgust or pain when Star Platinum stretched its fingers out wide within him, and he felt like he was tearing apart, but it felt so good, and the burn within him was primordial, and he wanted more. Jotaro felt his arms suddenly be clutched and clasped to the floor above his head, and then he realized, with the absence of the ability to do so anymore, that he had been writhing on the floor under Star Platinum. He continued to writhe in Star Platinum's grasp, though
How do
not
you not
able to
notice
control
that?
his body's movements, as well as to enjoy how tight Star Platinum's
part-
hand was
I
around his
wasn't
wrist.
this
Star
pussy.
Platinum smoothly slid its fourth finger into Jotaro, and he felt as
This
if he was being
person
clawed open,
has never had
as if
sex.
he were gaping for all
What
to
was
see.
your first clue?
Saliva trickled out of the side of his
The
mouth
fact
to
that
the
they're
floor,
writing
tainting what Star
JoJo's
Platinum
Bizarre
had just
Adventure
claimed for him.
fanfiction.
Jotaro felt the breath of Star Platinum's knuckles push against his opening.
The
as
breath
his fingers
of
carved into
Star
the fist,
Platinum's
its tongue joining
knuckles.
them to complete the form. Star Platinum's hand was massive, and the thought of that mass being inside of him made him constrict his vagina, trying to suck it in. As he relaxed after its constriction,
vagina's
Star
trying to
Platinum's
gobble
knuckles
his
slid
hand.
into Jotaro's wet tits. Jotaro felt Star Platinum's knuckles reach the deepest point in his vagina, and he let
The
out a
cervix.
strangled cry, wrist straining
cervix.
against Star Platinum's other hand to let out the
Anatomy
pressure
lessons
that
with
was inside
Bo.
of his suddenly. His tongue hung out of his mouth, an invitation, and Star Platinum released Jotaro's wrist in favor of pulling Jotaro's head towards it to kiss sloppily, fist
Oh.
remaining still inside of Jotaro.
Fist.
Star Platinum sucked Jotaro's tongue into its mouth gently as he began
What's
to
up
move
with
into a
sucking?
fist, turning it clockwise inside of Jotaro.
Gotta give the good
slowly
suck.
and steadily. Jotaro panted and whined into Star Platinum's mouth, his tongue limp due to overstimulation.
How
as
is
Star
that?
Platinum continued to kiss him. Star Platinum slowly
Imagine
moved
somebody
his fist
yelling
out
into your
so
mouth.
the very outer
You wanna-
parts
you
of
wanna give a
Jotaro's
demonstration?
vagina clasped to his knuckles,
With
and
what?
then began
The
suddenly.
camera.
Jotaro
Oh.
grunted loudly.
No,
Oh,
please
okay.
don't.
Back with both arms as
I
Star
would.
Platinum began to
I
move
know
its
you
first
would.
and out, twisting inside of him, faster and faster. All Jotaro could do was break away
I just
from
found
the
a
kiss,
hair on my
hide his
finger.
face in Star Platinum's neck,
Thank you for
savoring the
announcing.
scent, which he had never noticed before, and cling to its back to go along with the ride. After minutes of Star Platinum using its fist inside of him, Jotaro moved his hand down to grasp at Star Platinum's, pushing it away gently. Star Platinum, knowing Jotaro's desire, moved away to lie down on the floor himself. Jotaro opened the sink cabinet and took out a condom. It was sealed, and the expiration date was still a little over a year away. He tore the packet with shaky.
Are they
impatient
insinuating
hands
that
and rolled
Star
it down
Platinum
Star Platinum's
Could
cock.
get Jotaro
He
pregnant.
didn't know if Stans had
With,
sperm, and if
or
so,
like could
whether
give
it
him
was
an
fertile or
STI
not.
or
But
like
becoming
anything
right
like that.
before
Like,
college was
Are they
not the
implying
life he
that Star
wanted to
Platinum
find
has
out.
fucked other people, though?
Jotaro positioned his knees on either side of Star Platinum's pelvis
Like-
and willed his
like,
stand to keep
independently
his
from
hands to itself.
Jotaro.
He grasped
you know,
its
I
cock and
think
lined
Star
it
Platinum
with his
could,
pussy,
could get it.
lowering himself onto it. Although its cock was obviously not as large as its fist had been, it was still
Oh
an
my
above
god,
average size,
he's got a
and
tiny
Jotaro
dick
was able
compared to
clasp
his
vagina
fist.
barely around it. It was much more comfortable and relaxing than its fist had been, and Jotaro felt at ease as he rode Star Platinum. His legs shook from pleasure, but he used the hand he wasn't using to keep Star Platinum's dick in place to brace himself against Star Platinum's wide chest. His toes twisted.
Isn't
with each
Holly in the
other, his
room?
legs tensed,
No.
his whole body tensed.
Holly,
He
she
felt
better
his
fucking not be.
What if she
Some
walks
twisted
in?
bones filling the room until
I mean,
he
I
felt
see
his
a line.
insides twisting with such an intensity that he suddenly didn't feel the outside anymore. Underscore 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 underscore.
Why do they put underscores?
Don't know.
Underscore 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 underscore. Jotaro. He jerked up from the floor of the bathroom, dazed. He felt tingly all over and had an overall sense of peace, a feeling he recognized from the one other time he had achieved orgasm.
Oh,
His body felt like overcooked noodles, and all he wanted to do was
overcooked
crawl into
noodles.
bed
Wait,
with a
it's
book
coming.
and read until he fell back to sleep. Jotaro, I'm coming in. Give me a break. Jotaro slowly stood up and pulled down his shirt, which was large enough to cover his ass and the top of his thighs. Are you okay, sweetie? You have been so quiet all day. I'm fine. He was ticked and didn't have the energy to deal with anyone for the rest of the day. It felt as if his skin was crawling as his shoulders tensed.
They've never had an
There was
orgasm.
a presence outside of his bathroom door, and the annoyance within him
Oh,
seemed to boil up.
my skin crawled.
I think probably it was his skin is crawling because his mother is about to walk
He
in.
had completely forgotten about the prospect of packing, but figured that before he curled under his covers, he could shove all of his winter clothes and textbooks in that old rusted-shut trunk. He was
I'm
sure
going
he
to
could
kill
open it
myself.
now, especially if he brought out Star Platinum to help him. I'll see you tomorrow, then, I guess, Jotaro. Good night. There was a pause before Jotaro could bring himself to speak. Good night.
That's it.